Well, hello, friends, and welcome back. Today, we're going to start off with some Bad Company, and this is a Rhino reissue that was put out by Rhino Records, and it's pressed over there at RTI. And this record here now is remastered by Kevin Gray. And there's just a little story about RTI and kind of these record companies that were reissuing records back in the day and that were using RTI and Kevin Gray and Steve Hoffman over there at Acoustic. Now, Acoustic Sounds, Chad Kasem, who owns Acoustic Sounds, he's the one that went over there and set up that acoustic mastering. Like a lot of you folks probably know that. Because he wanted to get his records pressed over to RTI because they were making the best records at that time, where he could go and get his records made. And so he wanted to have he knew how important mastering is, so he wanted to have a couple good mastering engineers over there, so he set up that mastering lab, and they could plate and press and master the records and make them at RTI. They had the whole package out there. And so he started making his records over there. Well, Rhino come along, and they were able to get all of the Warner Brother tapes that they wanted to get a hold of. A lot of these old Warner Brother tapes, the original, because the record companies in those days, they weren't interested in making records yet. They were still making enough CDs, and Pandora and Spotify, all this stuff wasn't big yet. So they were still doing good on CDs, so they weren't worried about making records. So people like Rhino and Friday Music, whatever, could get tapes. And so Rhino started using RTI and using Kevin Gray and Steve Hoffman to get their records made over there. And that's why they're such great, great records. It's like Bernie Grumman says, if you take that original master tape and you master it properly and with today's equipment, you can make a much better sounding record, as we can attest to by these reissues that were made during that time with all analog. And so you got Friday Music over there, you got MoFi using RTI, there's a lot of, all of a sudden now about 07, 08 in there, there's a lot of people wanting to make records now. Records are starting to get popular. So Chad and MoFi and Rhino and these companies are like, hey, where's our records? They're like MoFi, and of course RTI is saying, listen, you're way down on the list. We've got all these people now that want records made, and we've only got so many presses and so many people. We're working 3 shifts. We're working around the clock. We're making as many records as we can, but we cannot keep up. So for whatever reasons unknown to me, Chad Kasem was able to buy classic records. They had their own presses. They made their own records. So he bought all their back catalog. He bought everything. He bought the whole company. And he moved all that stuff over to Kansas. He got all the presses refurbished and rebuilt, remanufactured up to today's standard, improved the quality of them quite a bit, and he started making his own records. Well, what did Rhino do? Rhino said, well, you know what? We'll go over to the Palace, Germany. They can make lots of records over there, and they make good records. We'll just go over to Palace, Germany. But their covers and the records still sound pretty good, but their whole, it's just not the quality of the RTI, the stuff that we know comes out of there from Rhino. And of course, MoFi still uses RTI. But so that's kind of, and then of course that 2010, when Chad left, that's when Kevin Gray went and started Coherent Audio. And I'm not sure what Steve Hoffman's doing right now, but he's doing something. He's always involved with audio and records and mastering and stuff. So that's kind of the story about this Rhino, the RTI kind of story that I learned about here just recently. Now, this is the Bad Company record that was mastered by Kevin Gray back before 2010. And now this is getting near the end of the whole deal. And the cover, see, the cover is one of the ones that just kind of glued together here, and then they left it open on the gatefold end. So it's not up to the same quality of covers that they were putting out earlier. But we still have the nice 180 gram vinyl pressed at RTI, remastered by Kevin Gray. So you know the record's going to be fine. It's just they're starting to, somehow that Friday music influence is getting involved here with these covers, which I don't like, of course. Okay, so that covers that. Next up is Desolation Angels, and this is a first edition Japanese pressing from '79, and look how nice and thick this thing is. Yeah, that's a gorgeous record right here, and huge thick covers, the way Rhino used to make records. And then you've got your Japanese inner sleeve, nice big thick inner sleeve here, and the Japanese insert, I should say. And then you've got your Swan Song label, Japanese pressing. Of course, the record sounds fantastic. Now, this record doesn't have the OB strip, but that's not always a make or break deal for me. And on a record like this, you know, this is not up there in the top 10 of my favorite records or anything. It's a great record, don't get me wrong. I like the record, but you know, I just used to have it on a domestic press, and then I was able to get this at a good price. And one of the Bad Company records that I do like, it's got some good songs on it here, rock and roll fantasy, that type of stuff. Good record. Then we've got Straight Shooter, and this again is a nice first edition Japanese pressing. Insert. Again, it's got the nice big thick inner sleeve. Label Island Records. Made in Japan. I saw it somewhere, but I don't know if I showed you all that. Here you go. And then up next, start with some Doobie Brothers. 1975. Yeah, that's when this record came out. Doobie Brothers, Toulouse Street. This is their first LP, and this is a first edition Japan press again. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful record. It's got that parchment paper on the outside of the gatefold, all on the inside of the gatefold, on the back cover. I mean, this record is an original. On the Palm Tree label from 1972. And it's immaculate. I guess, you know, a lot of those Japanese folks, must have been a lot of them folks, you know, they probably had a Nakamichi cassette player, and they would just buy the record and record it, and they put it on the shelf. And then, you know, 30 years later, or 40 years later, when, I don't know who's selling the records, or kids or somebody selling off the records, I get an opportunity to buy something like this, like it was just brand new. It's just beautiful condition. Love these records like that. And then we've got The Captain and Me, and this is one of those deals now. See, these Doobie Brother records, they haven't been reissued by Rhino or Chad or anybody. So I want the best sounding record I get. Now, see, Friday Music reissued this. They did a horrible job of it. Kevin Gray didn't do it. Somebody else did it. And it sounded bad. And so I went out and I got the first edition Japanese press of it, and this one destroyed that Friday Music thing. Inside of the gatefold. And again, it's on a Warner Brother press. First edition Japanese. Now here's another first edition Japanese pressing. Doobie Brothers. What were once vices are now habits. And look at that. It's a black record, and look how nice it is. Yeah, it's perfect. And this is like 74. And it's on the palm tree label again. And this is the best of the Doobie Brothers. Now I bought this out of Japan, and I bought it for resale. And that was at the end of when I was selling records, you know, on eBay. And I haven't done it now for probably a couple of years. Been busy doing a lot of other things. And so I'm in the process. I think I'm going to change the name of my channel to something more appropriate for records. And then I can get a domain name of that same name, and I might get a website where I can sell records like this that are, you know, mint condition to my subscribers for a discounted price on my website. I don't have to use eBay and all that mess. I can just sell records to you folks, because I get a lot of people, Ron, what's your eBay? How do I go buy your records and stuff? And there's a bunch of subscribers out there that, my older ones, they have bought records from me on eBay, and they know what kind of records that I sell. Now we have, this is Elvis Costello. This is Armed Forces. And this is a UK first press. Now all these Elvis Costello records, they're all UK presses, most of them. And I bought them all. I think I bought most of them. I think there's one that I bought new, but the rest of them I bought used at the record stores. And it comes, first of all, it comes with these postcards. Pretty neat items. And then I don't know how this ended up here. It's a picture of me back in the day. I don't know how that got in there. But anyway, I'll show you that anyway. Now, and it comes with a nice 45 RPM in here, a nice 7-inch on the same label the record's on. And it's got Watching the Detectives on one side, and on the other side it's got Accidents Will Happen and Allison. So that's nice. And you have your inner sleeve, a nice thick inner sleeve. And of course, the UK press, first edition. And then, on the inside here, see, this is the, that was the album cover. If you bought a US or Canadian edition of this record, even the first press, it wasn't like this. This is only a UK first edition, comes like this. It had this cover on it. So, this is a real nice item. This is when, you know, Elvis was in his heyday. He could get all this nice stuff done. You know, as artists become more popular, they're able to get more, make the record company spend more money on the packaging, which is nice. Excuse me. This is Imperial Bedroom. It's another UK press. And the nice thing about this record is the inner sleeve's got this writing, and the label's got the writing, and if you get it oriented properly, that all matches up. It's kind of a cool thing there. Trust. Yeah, this is one of my favorite Elvis Costello. They're all really good. And you know, the first two LPs, this year's model and My Aim Is True, I used to have both of those as well. But I ended up selling them because, you know, MoFi has reissued them on Half-Speed Master, and for some reason I just haven't picked them up yet, but I need to get it done before they're out of stock. But I like those records as well. Now, Clubland is really, really cool. I mean, Trust is really cool. Here's the LP cover. And it does have Clubland on it. This is a really good song. And this is really cool too. This photo of him on the inner sleeve. It's a pretty nice thick inner sleeve. And I thought the label was always really cool too. That's really neat. But this is a really good record here. You know, it's got Clubland, Pretty Words, New Lace Sleeves, From a Whisper to a Scream, White Knuckles, Shot with His Own Gun, Fish and Chips Papers, Big Sister's Clothes, on and on and on. Great, great. That one side is a little better than the other, but on the whole, great record. And it sounds so nice on this UK first edition. This one I did buy new. I'm not sure where exactly I bought it. I was living in Canada when I bought it, but I was able to get it. Very nice item. And now we get to Get Happy. Excuse me. This record, they're trying to kind of go old school with this thing. It's got a laminated front, but it doesn't have a laminated back on it. It's like those really old UK presses. That's the way they did their stuff. And they're trying to get some ring wear on here and stuff, trying to make it like it's an old record. Because the reason they did it is because he's got 11 songs on one side and 10 songs on the other. That's like one of them old Beatle records. It's like song after song after song, hit after hit after hit. And you know, Elvis Costello is one of the only ones that can do something like that. He's such a great songwriter. He could have probably made 3 LPs with the amount of material that's on here. You know, just stretched it out a little bit. But he didn't. He chose to make a record like this, and it's fantastic. Now this record, the little story about this one is MoFi had reissued this on a 2 LP 45 RPM record. And I bought it. And I got it, and I was thinking, why is this going to destroy this poor little UK press? So I put it on there and listened to it. Wow, sounded really nice. And you know, that's what I've been saying. When people buy reissues today with the equipment that they have, they sound pretty good. They do sound good. I don't care what kind of record it is. But what are you comparing it to? So I got out my UK press, I put it on. I was really disappointed with that MoFi, because I wanted that. That was a beautiful record. But this had better bass on it. Much better vocals. Elvis's voice was much more clear. Sounded more realistic. The cymbals, more shimmer on the cymbals. Everything was just a lot better record. What's going on at MoFi? I'm thinking, what's going on? So, you know, I was down there in Exponia. This is at the same time I was down in Exponia. And I was up in a room, and I was looking to buy, you know, I was just listening to equipment. And I noticed the guy had that new Santana, because at that same time, MoFi reissued this first Santana and a Braxis on a half-speed master. And that was something I wanted to get. So I went in the room and I seen he had that record. I said, hey, put that on. That's something, that'll be great. And he's like, no. Well, I said, what? He says, yeah, we just went down, you know, MoFi's down there, or Music Direct's down in the lobby, and they're selling a bunch of records down there. And we bought this, and we took it up here to listen to it, and it sounds horrible. I'm like, oh my goodness. So yeah, they had some issues during those years, and I'm glad they got over all that mess. And this is Punch the Clock. This is a Japanese first edition. And if you see these letters up here, we've talked about that before. Daniel's one, he calls that the birthday cake. That means promo in Japanese. And it also has it on the label, up here on the label. So it doesn't usually have a sticker up there to say it's a promo. A lot of times it might say sample up there, or it might not have anything. So if you check the label, it's got to have those letters on there. Then you know it's a promo. And okay, well that's going to conclude the video for today, and thanks for watching.